Good day, and thank you for being with me to discuss and review the many faces of politics and being a politician. You know, we the people have been awash with political advertisements. We have become nauseated with political candidates telling us things that we believe are falsehoods. And maybe some of you all are saying, I can tell if a politician is being sober, being square, being round with me with their thesis. And a few of you all may be saying, I could be a politician. I would love to be a politician. It's not that difficult. Well, I'm going to help you to make up your mind. Now, we will use the word candidate interchangeably with an incumbent politician. So I say, let's get this party started, and none of you should leave until the music stops. I am Clifton A. Castile, but first, let me divulge this confession to you that I have been keeping in the bedroom, and that is I love politics, even though I'm retired from participation. In New Orleans, I was involved in politics for more than 35 years, either at the grassroot station or in a formal capacity, which encompasses being a volunteer speechwriter or a campaign manager for various political office seekers. I love the way politics smelled. I love the power that goes with being a politician or being around a politician, being at press conferences, being on talk shows, calling news conferences, but most of all, injecting my personal beliefs, my personal thesis into a political candidate's words. And to hear my candidate using my thoughts was everything to me. It empowered me because, you see, most politicians do not write their speeches. Like most people involved in a labor or helping candidates win an office, they're paid nothing. So why give your energies to someone? Well, a candidate message might be parallel to your thinking. And perhaps there's a linking pin with your thoughts and your beliefs that is synonymous with that particular politician or candidate. And most people believe that their lives will be improved by voting for a certain candidate, and if he wins or she wins. Now, the making of a politician, why don't we call this course 101? And you tell me at the end of this presentation, did you receive a passing grade? So let's get down in the bowels of politics. And I'm just going to give you a little molecule here, the making of a politician. But we're going to talk about how to seek office and win. First, you're going to need an inflated ego. You must have self-efficacy. You must have mega energy. You must exercise self-discipline. You must believe your own thoughts. Believe your agenda is what people need to be happy or contented or to be successful. Now, you don't have to be very erudite or have manifold intelligence. Just appear to be smart. You must convince your mind that what you say are not lies, but maybe misleading statements. Here's something so important. You must embellish sophism, and you must also boldface and underscore gaslighting. And I'm going to discuss those two variables later. You must wear the correct clothing when you're around different gatherings or different groups. Say you're addressing proletariats, then you might want to pretend you're one of them. You want to wear some blue jeans and maybe don't shave for a couple of days, and you think that this is going to identify with the working class as the proletariats are. But if you're going to be around the bourgeoisie or the middle class, you might want to wear a suit and tie. Your vocabulary is everything. tone it down depending on which group. Most importantly, though, an office seeker must traduce and state lies about your opponent or opponents and make him or her sound like a reprobate, a less than human. You must destroy their character at all costs and even their family if necessary so you can win. Now, you're only going to do this with, say there are 5 candidates. Well, you only want to do the one that's near you, or if it's incumbent, then you want to destroy him. However, if you win your office, you have reached the apex of your ego. Nothing compares to you being a politician. So how do you start the process? How do you get off the ground? Well, you need to get a survey. You can do that with the telephones. And you want to construct something that we call a feeler survey among registered voters. You're going to ask their age or their gender, their educational level, their political affiliation, and you're going to ask them, have you heard of candidate A, Bobby Be Good, or something like that. And you're going to ask some searching and sort of political questions, such as, how do you feel about welfare? How do you feel about taxes? How do you feel about crime? Now, after you get this, then you can sort of embed some of that into your platform. You're going to need money. You're going to need fundraisers, but you don't need that much money at the local level. You have to lock into grassroots political organizations, and they're all over town. They'll make the telephone calls for you. They'll mail out letters. They'll knock on doors, have bingo, outings and whole raffles and so forth. You're going to have to visit many churches. Say what the minister and the congregation want to hear from you. Now, it's not that difficult to solicit votes if you lock into their problems that people are having, and chances are they aren't happy and they need to blame the establishment or a group of people or another politician. And then the rest is as easy as making duck soup. Civic groups will help you to raise money. You can have little dinners, $25 a plate, all up and so forth. And just to hear you talk and divulge your agenda. You can get volunteers from college, or you can get retired people or high school kids, and you give them a few bucks. Nonetheless, these low-level volunteers will be your most valuable instruments to get your message known. They'll put out flyers, they'll knock on doors, put little flyers on people's cars, give out pens with your name on it, plastic drinking cups with your name on it, and maybe some t-shirts with your picture on it. How do you construct a working platform? Well, it's going to have various planks that will appeal to voters. A platform may be like this: I will make this city a better place for your family. Your main idea is your platform. Your planks are what you're going to use to justify and maintain your platform. Say your planks would be decrease violent crimes, reduce taxes, and so forth. Let's talk about sophism. What is sophism? It's an argument apparently correct in form, the way you say it, but actually is invalid. And it's done to deceive you. And you use it to destroy someone else. Let's talk about gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse where a person or group will make someone or a group of people feel that they are insane. They're worthless. You try to shame them. Example, people who live in this section of town are nothing but thugs. They're killers. They're thieves. They don't want to work. Now, we see that type of gaslighting all the time. And you know what happens? Sooner or later, you start believing it if it's said enough. And you say, well, they're okay, but I'm not okay. And this is more prevalent with minorities and with women. And they start saying negative things about themselves. Okay, sophism. Watch this. I will mix up facts and lies, what I'm going to say. Let's say conservative candidate A is seeking a criminal judgeship position. His platform is this: I will be tough on crime and career criminals. Violent crime has increased by 140%. And that's because my opponent is releasing hardened and career criminals back into our society before they have served their full sentence. This is ridiculous. Well, part of that statement is true, but it's full of mistruths. That's what sophism is. Watch this. While crime has increased, that's factual. However, violent crime has actually decreased. The candidate added all crime into his statement. And then the most deceiving part of this statement is this: nonviolent criminals are being released early and not violent crimes. And this is criminals, I should say. And this is the reason he is not being honest with you. And he didn't tell you that the judicial system says you're overcrowded in a prison, you must release the non-violent criminals. This is sophism, and it's a little mixture of gaslighting, what I'm going to tell you now. Let's take a politician who is seeking re-election and is in a close battle with an opponent. We'll make it a female. Her district is 40% minorities and 60% white proletariats or plebeians. So politician A says something she knows is only partially true. Listen closely what this politician says. Oh, minorities, which she's referring to blacks, are wasting our city and state and government monies. 32% of our government money, our hard-earned tax money, is going to African Americans. We, the working class, are sick and tired of this. We're spending our tax money on them and they just sit around. She knows this is a lie. Did anyone catch the lie in that statement? Well, say I wrote a speech for candidate B, who's her opponent. He would say this: she's lying. Here's the truth. 32% of African Americans are on some type of government assistance. Not 32% of the money spent by government goes to African Americans. See that? And he would say, and I'd write this into the speech, the government spends more money on Caucasians than on minorities. Here's why. While only 12% receive government aid, that's Caucasians, the population of Caucasian is 166 million and 65% of the population. Now listen closely. On the other hand, African Americans numbers are 30 million and they make up 13% of the population. Now, you see what happens here? So the government is spending more money on Caucasians, because if you do the math, you will see why. But then that candidate A would come back and say, no, we don't use that, we use percentages. See how that goes? Okay, let's talk about propaganda. Propaganda, it's not lies, it's exaggeration. And all commercials embed propaganda. And there are many types of propaganda. We'll talk about a couple of them. And so do all politicians. I don't care if it's on a local level or if it's national. Democrats or Republican, you must use propaganda if you want to win. Let's take a look at this. A commercial using propaganda. Everybody wears Acme jeans. You can move around when you dance. They feel good. And they'll show something like every race, gender, having fun, dancing, and so forth. Now, this type of propaganda is labeled as bandwagon. Get on here. Have fun. If you don't, you're silly. In a political ad, you'll get something like this. All proletariats of blue collars workers are voting for Jimmy Be Good because people know who he is and what he stands for. Saying if you don't vote for him, you're silly. Something is wrong with you. This is bandwagon. It'll shame you if you don't want to think the way they do. Now, how about testimonial? Okay, let's do that real quickly. You get a singer by the name of Sweetmeat, and she said, well, these lovely brand of gyptic lingeries make me feel great when I go to sleep. I feel sexy like a sweet lady. Well, everybody going to believe her. She's famous. You don't have to put a name down. And you do that with politics in an advertisement. You might have something like this. Folks, I endorse Bobby B. Good. He's the most honest person I know. He's going to bring about much needed changes. Now, he could be a famous minister. Okay, repetition is where you repeat, especially if it's a new candidate, his name over or her name over and over, just as they do with a new product in commercials. But what about controversial issues? He or she must take a stance. They're going to force you to, such as, oh, this is a hot one, a woman's right to her reproductive decisions. Gay rights. Should they be allowed to legally marry? What about affirmative action? Now, if you're wise, you'll skirt around that. And if you notice, politicians never get to the answer that you ask them, and they'll say something like, oh, if it's affirmative action, oh, let me tell you, I think everybody should have an opportunity, but I don't think certain people should have an advancement over others. See, never answered. Now, you the candidate, say you win your election. What now? Is being a politician as much fun as you thought? You're going to have daily intrusion by voters who ask for your references to obtain a job or something to go to the kid to go to college. And there are some who will ask you to sign a security bond for someone who has been arrested for a nonviolent charge. You don't have to talk at various civic groups. And you're going to spend a lot of time away from your family. Now, the news media is going to ask you for your opinion about this. What do you think about crime? What would you do? Again, you must skirt around this here. But what if you lose? It is a wound that may never heal. You campaign 16 hours a day, every week for, say, a year or two. You spent some of your money, and you can't be sick. You must shake dirty hands, hug sweaty people, and listen to all of their problems. You're going to have to smile when you don't want to smile. But what can be most gut-wrenching to you if you lose? Say your opponent who defeated you, and he or she has won, they're going to ask you for your endorsement, so he can or she can defeat the candidate in the other political party. Now, you're going to remember all of the lies he or she said about you when you were campaigning. You're going to remember that person rebuked your family, derided your wife's physical appearance. Well, conversely, you're going to do the same. We see this every day, don't we? Now, I'm going to ask you, once again, could you be a politician? That's the question. Could you play games like a politician does? Could you say, I'm okay, you're okay? Or would you say, I'm okay, you're not okay if you're not on board with me? All right, I'd like to hear from you, and I hope you pass this course. Thank you so very much for being here with me.